Somebody once asked me how you defined a good beer. Oh, okay. Nobody ever actually asked me that whatsoever. But I'll just offer a few thoughts on why I bring this up. Is because a good beer it depends on what you're using it for. We're not suggesting anything kinky here. I just bringing that up. If you're mowing the yard and it's a really hot day, any beer that's cold when you get in the house and you sit down, you crack open the can and you drink it, that pretty much hits the spot. One of my old school teachers told me a story one time. He was a teetotaler, but his father-in-law would come visit and leave beer in the refrigerator before he'd go home. And he says, one day I came in from mowing the yard, and he said, the only beer I ever drank in my life, he said, I cracked open one of the cans he left behind, and he said, I sat down, and he said, I drank it. It was actually quite refreshing. Some years ago, I was mowing the lawn. This goes back, when I was living in the Tidewater region of the Chesapeake and Delaware Bay areas, and it gets hot and humid there in the summer. And I had a girlfriend who was going to have her parents coming over to have dinner at my house, and she decided that I didn't know how to cook, so she was going to do it for me. While she was busy in the kitchen, I went out and I mowed the grass, came inside, and I was just drenched in sweat. And I'd had a couple of cans of Yingling. Yingling Lager was my favorite beer at the time. It's not terribly high in alcohol content, but it tastes good and it quenches your thirst after you're doing an activity like that. I opened up the refrigerator and the beer was gone. And she said, oh, I put it into the sauerkraut. We're not together any longer. I need to point that out. So I was thinking about what you might drink on a hot day after mowing the grass, and I came up with a beer. It's from here in the northwestern region of the country. You can see it here. It's called Montucky, which is a play on the rural nature of Montana, which is our neighboring state. Well, one of our neighboring states. I should give the impression that we've got several. It says it's the unofficial beer of Montana. I don't know that most Montanans know that, but that's what they call themselves. It also says supporting local nonprofits and charities since 2012. You can buy 6 of these in 16-ounce cans for a little over $6, which is like saying it's a bargain beer. Bargain basement, I will not use that word because it doesn't have an aftertaste or anything like that. It's just, on the other hand, when you drink it, it's like having a cold glass of water with some fizz in it. Not terribly strong on the alcohol content. So when you're actually drinking it, it will be somewhat refreshing immediately after mowing the grass or doing some other project like that around the house. On the other hand, if you've got friends coming over to visit and you're thinking about something you might want to serve with dinner, the ladies can drink their wine. But if the guys want to have a cold beverage and you want them to think that you're somewhat of a high-class individual, okay, you're drinking beer, so no one's going to think that. But if you want them to at least think that you got a little bit of taste, you might want to serve them something that's a little bit higher end. For a couple of dollars more a six-pack, you could pick up something from a brewery out of Paso Robles, California. I think I've got that right. I think that's a relative of the baseball player Victor Robles. It's called Luponic Distortion IPA Series. I don't know what they mean by series. I guess now the IPA is like baseball players and also having, can you see the IPA World Series? I don't know. Cans don't run base paths too very fast. But the Firestone Brewery puts this out. And I've criticized the nature of IPAs in the past. We've had this beer revolution in this country that's taken place over the course of the last, 30 years. From Prohibition through the 1980s, all beer was the same. It had just one flavor, and that was cold. And it was just, ordinary. And you could drink any brand, and no matter where you went, you knew what a beer was going to be. You walked in, you ordered one, and it was cold. And then people started realizing, hey, pre-Prohibition, we had a lot of variety out there. And all of these wonderful microbreweries popped up. But if you walked into a store right now to buy a beer and they had a large selection and you put your hands over your eyes and you just guessed, the problem is that you're likely going to open up one of the coolers and 4 out of 5 times you're going to come out of the cooler with an IPA. They dominate the market to the point it's almost getting like it was before we had the explosion of all this variety. So a lot of these IPAs also, they try to outdo each other to the point where you might as well just chew on the hops. I'm sorry, but that's, and they just keep trying to come up with stronger and stronger flavors, which is like taking a can of powdered alum and dumping it down your throat. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. On the other hand, I was pleasantly surprised by this. And the reason I bought it is because it said it has hints of kiwi. I love kiwi fruit. And then something called lychee, whatever the heck that is. And then something called, and I'm guessing here, feyoha. Feijoa. I got no idea what that is. For all I know, it's going to make me higher than a kite. And I'm not talking about the alcohol. So I decided to try a little bit of this. Okay, and I'm going to tell you something. If it doesn't make you grimace after you taste it, that's a good thing. If it doesn't make your sinuses clear out, that's probably a good thing as well. Not terribly heavy on alcohol content, like a lot of these modern IPAs. It could almost be one of those beers. Not only could you serve it to your friends for dinner if they came by the house, but you could also serve it as well, I think. Well, you could drink it right after mowing the yard. And you'd get a little more flavor than, let's say, if you were drinking the Montucky. But on the other hand, I'm not knocking the Montucky, as I said earlier, if I said it at all. It doesn't have an aftertaste. You know, there are some beers you drink them. I'm reminded, the only thing that I would say about the Montucky is, when I was a young guy, I remember my dad took me to a local neighborhood tavern. Hey, this is my son. I want you to meet my son. I'm going to insult him now for the next couple of hours. So I make myself look better. And I was having a beer, and I had to get up, and I went to the bathroom. And my dad looked at the bartender, and I'll never forget what he said. Drink 5, piss 10. And all the old men, ho, 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 ho. I should point out they're all dead now. Anyway, I'll be back with another review in a few days. If you've got any ideas on something I should review that I haven't done yet, I'm more than willing to listen. I will track it down, or I will call the brewery and say, send me some immediately, or the kids get it, or something to that effect. All right. Hey, we'll talk to you soon.